news is the rating has come out for this game that Shedeur Sanders made his debut in. And some people are like, it was 3 times higher for the Hall of Fame. Nielsen, the Sporting News on X, 2.2 million people tuned in to see Sanders play for the Browns against the Carolina Panthers last week.
The Cleveland Browns just experienced something so monumental, so earth-shattering, that they haven't seen anything like it since George Bush Sr. was in the White House. And you better believe that every single football fanatic on the entire planet dropped whatever they were doing to watch this historic moment unfold. We're not talking about a Super Bowl run here, or even just squeaking into the playoffs. No, we're talking about something far more fundamental. Something that should happen every few years for any decent franchise, but has been Cleveland's own personal, inescapable nightmare. I'm talking about a rookie quarterback actually winning his debut start. If you're loving this story, make sure you smash that like button for Shedeur, and if you believe he's got what it takes to win big, comment Shedeur rocks down below. So go ahead, mark it down in your calendars, Browns faithful, because this date is going to live forever in your team's history books. The victim on this historic day? The Las Vegas Raiders. The final score that sealed the deal? A decisive 20. And the young gunslinger, the man who finally shattered that thick glass ceiling of futility that has haunted the city of Cleveland since the... It was none other than Shedeur Sanders, the 5th-round steal who has been making a career out of silencing critics since the very first moment he laced up his cleats in the NFL. Let's really dive into just how insane this losing streak was, because if you don't fully grasp the historical context here, you can't possibly understand how massive this moment truly is for this team and this city.
You know, so a lot of people want to see me fail, and it ain't gonna happen. You know, it ain't gonna happen.
Let this sink in for a minute. The Cleveland Browns had not seen a rookie quarterback win his very first start since the year 90. You really need to let that marinate. We're talking about the year that Windows 95 first dropped and changed the world. This was a time when most people were still trying to figure out what the heck email even was. It was a time when The Rock was still wrestling in a turtleneck, for crying out loud. This was a full year before LeBron James was even old enough to legally drive a car. And right then, the Browns were about to stumble into nearly 3 decades of absolute quarterback hell, a period of despair that would come to define them as the league's biggest, most reliable punchline. The streak they were on wasn't just bad, it was statistically abysmal, a curse they just couldn't shake. 17 straight games. That's 17 consecutive times a Browns rookie quarterback walked onto that field for his debut and walked off tasting the bitter pill of defeat. That's 17 different stories of hope that turned into heartbreak, often before halftime even hit. It was 17 brutal, gut-wrenching reminders that the Cleveland Browns simply could not figure out the one position that matters more than anything else in professional football. This wasn't just a string of bad luck or a rough patch. This was a complete and total organizational meltdown that became a running Twitter meme, a recurring late-night TV joke, and a cautionary tale for every other franchise about the catastrophic consequences of failing to get the quarterback position right. The list of quarterbacks who fed this soul-crushing losing streak reads like a hall of shame. Top draft picks who busted harder than a cheap piñata, washed-up veterans brought in as bridge quarterbacks who led the team straight off a cliff, and developmental guys who might have flashed for a hot minute before inevitably crashing back down to earth. But every single one of them had one thing in common. They lost their first start while wearing the orange and brown, adding another dark chapter to Cleveland's never-ending quarterback horror story. And then Shedeur Sanders stepped onto the field and basically said, "Not on my watch."
He only took 1 sack the entire game, which is a massive improvement when you think about last week against the Ravens and even the final preseason game. I mean, in the final preseason game against the Rams, he took 5 sacks in 17 plays.
What makes this story even crazier are the circumstances that surrounded Shedeur's first real-deal start in the NFL. Let's be crystal clear, he wasn't supposed to be out there yet. Not by a long shot. The game plan from the front office was simple and logical. Let him marinate on the bench, give him time to study the intricate playbook, allow him to get used to the insane speed of the NFL, and just wait for his shot down the road when the time was right. But then, as it so often does, football happened. The starter went down with an injury, and just like that, boom, the fifth-round rookie who had been turning heads and raising eyebrows all preseason was suddenly getting thrown directly into the fire for a game that actually counts in the standings. Think about that pressure. Most rookies in that situation would have folded like a cheap lawn chair. Most guys who get picked in the fifth round would have been completely drowning in the pressure, trying to lead a complex NFL offense with real, meaningful stakes on the line for the very first time. But here's the thing you have to understand about Shedeur Sanders. He isn't built like most rookies, and his absolutely stellar performance against the Raiders proved to everyone watching that he is more than ready for prime time.
I felt that this was the best possible performance that we could have seen from Shedeur Sanders, which is to say, I was not anticipating Shedeur was going to go out here and throw 400 yards and get 4 touchdowns.
Check the stat sheet.
Let's break down the numbers because they paint a pretty impressive picture. 11 completions on 20 attempts for 209 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 pick. Now those are solid, respectable numbers for any quarterback, let alone a rookie making his first real start on incredibly short notice. But here's the critical thing you have to understand. The stats are only part of the equation here. They don't even begin to capture the swagger, the incredible pocket presence, and the absolute command he showed all game long. This wasn't some scared kid just hoping to avoid mistakes and let the defense carry him to a win. Not at all. This was a player who completely understood the gravity of the moment, owned it, and then went out and made big-time plays when his squad needed them the most. His composure in the pocket was ice cold. The timing on his throws was perfectly on point. The leadership vibes he was giving off were completely off the charts. Everything about his game screamed, "I'm supposed to be here," even though he got the call to start way earlier than anyone, including himself, ever expected. That deep ball he threw to Isaiah Bond? That was absolute cinema. He launched it 52 yards downfield, threading the needle between multiple defenders like he was playing Madden on rookie mode, and dropped it right into the bucket for a huge gain. That's not some safe, conservative check-down pass. That's not a gimmick play-action play. That is a quarterback showing the entire world he can attack every single level of the defense and make game-changing plays that can flip the script in one single snap. That's the kind of throw that first-round picks are supposed to make. And here's this kid, a fifth-rounder from Cleveland, doing it in his very first start. It was a chef's kiss moment. The touchdown pass was arguably even better. A perfectly executed 66-yard screen to Dylan Sampson that showed Shedeur can not only execute flawlessly within the system, but can also create the kind of explosive plays that light up the scoreboard in an instant.
I felt that this was the best possible performance that we could have seen from Shedeur Sanders, which is to say, I was not anticipating Shedeur was going to go out here and throw 400 yards and get 4 touchdowns.
Now, screen passes might look easy to the casual fan, but trust me, they are sneaky difficult to pull off correctly. The timing has to be absolutely perfect. You've got to sell the play action just right to get the defenders flowing the wrong way. The velocity on the throw is critical. Not too hard, not too soft. And then it's on your running back to take that short gain and turn it into something truly special. On that touchdown, every single element clicked into place perfectly, giving Shedeur his first career regular season touchdown pass while putting crucial points on the board when Cleveland needed them the most. And yes, let's go ahead and address the elephant in the room, the interception. Every single quarterback throws picks. Patrick Mahomes does it, Josh Allen does it, and even the great Tom Brady threw plenty of them over his career. What separates the true studs from the duds is how you respond to that adversity. Do you let one bad play snowball into a complete disaster? Do you start playing scared and hesitant? Or do you just shake it off, learn from the mistake, and come back out slinging it with confidence on the very next drive? It's crystal clear that Shedeur belongs in that third category. He kept firing with confidence even after the turnover, which is exactly the kind of resilience and short-term memory you want to see from your franchise guy. And for real, the Browns' defense deserves a statue outside the stadium. Let me say that a little louder for the people in the back. 10 sacks. That's straight-up video game numbers. Myles Garrett was an absolute menace out there. A one-man wrecking crew racking up 3 sacks all by himself, and basically living in the Raiders' backfield all afternoon. The pressure was relentless, the execution was savage, and the result was a Raiders offense that looked like they'd never even seen a blitz package before in their lives. This defensive clinic obviously took a ton of pressure off Shedeur, letting him manage the game instead of feeling like he had to be perfect and carry the entire team on his shoulder. But here's what's easy to miss in all of that: when your defense is balling out like that, the offense still has a critical job to do. You've still got to move the chains, you've still got to score points, and you absolutely have to avoid turnovers that give the other team easy points and momentum.
Running away from it is Sanders. He's looking long. He's got a man. Caught at the 10-yard line. Bonds. He's down to the 1-yard line.
Shedeur checked every single one of those boxes, which is exactly what you need from a rookie quarterback in his debut. Let's be real, nobody expected him to come out and throw for 500 yards and 6 touchdowns. The mission for him was simple: play smart football, execute the game plan, make the plays when they're there for the taking, and above all else, protect the rock. And you know what? Mission accomplished. The viewership numbers that seem to follow Shedeur everywhere he goes tell a powerful story about a kind of star power that the NFL absolutely loves. His preseason game against Carolina, a meaningless exhibition, was the most watched preseason game on the NFL Network in almost a decade, pulling in over 2.2 million viewers. That's not just good for preseason, that is absolutely bonkers. That means millions of people were tuning in specifically to watch Shedeur Sanders play, even though the game had zero impact on the standing. And while we don't have the exact numbers for his official debut against the Raiders just yet, all the hype and the massive buzz around the game suggest it was a huge television event. This was supposed to be a forgettable early season game between two teams nobody really expected to make any noise, but because Shedeur Sanders was starting, it instantly became must-see TV that had the whole country watching. Of course, you can't talk about Shedeur without talking about his old man. Deion "Primetime" Sanders is one of the most iconic, charismatic, and electrifying athletes in the history of American sports. He didn't just play two sports at the highest possible level. He created a brand, a whole vibe, a cultural movement that went way beyond the worlds of football and baseball. That incredible legacy, that powerful name recognition, that undeniable star power, it all transfers directly to Shedeur in ways that benefit both him and the NFL's bottom line. Just think about how incredibly rare it is for a 5th-round draft pick to generate this kind of massive buzz. Normally, guys drafted that late are afterthoughts. They might get some local media coverage, but nobody on a national level is paying attention to what some day 3 rookie is doing. But Shedeur Sanders is different. He's appointment viewing. He's a built-in storyline that even casual fans care about. He is someone who moves the needle in ways that 99% of NFL players simply can't. The business impact of having Shedeur succeed in Cleveland is absolutely huge for that franchise. For years, the Browns have been a national joke. Their endless quarterback carousel has been mocked on every sports show imaginable. Their inability to build a consistent winner has made them the punchline of countless jokes and the subject of sad documentaries. But now, suddenly, they've got something electric. They've got a young quarterback with a legendary last name who can actually ball. They've got hope. They've got something for their fans to genuinely believe in again. And perhaps most importantly for the business side, they've got a player who is going to sell tickets, sell jerseys, and drive TV ratings straight through the roof. Get ready, because those jersey sales are about to explode. When you combine Shedeur's personal brand with the Cleveland fans' desperate hunger for a franchise quarterback who can actually deliver, you have a perfect storm for commercial success. People who haven't bought Browns gear in years are suddenly online ordering that number 12 jersey. Fans who had all but given up are cautiously letting themselves dream again. And all of that renewed energy translates directly into cold, hard cash for the organization. Shedeur isn't just a player, he's a phenomenon.
The situation in Cleveland looks pretty solid. The defense is obviously talented and capable of dominant performances like we saw against the Raiders. Myles Garrett is one of the best pass rushers on the planet, and that kind of defensive presence takes heat off the offense. The coaching staff trusts Shedeur enough to let him actually play QB instead of handcuffing him with a boring, ultra-conservative game plan. And the receiving corps, while maybe not elite, has enough talent to make plays when the ball is on the money. The Isaiah Bond connection is especially exciting. Bond was also a rookie in this game, and watching him hook up with Shedeur on that 52-yard bomb suggests there could be real chemistry developing between two young guys who could grow together over the next few years. When QB-receiver chemistry clicks like that, it becomes the foundation of an offense that makes defensive coordinators lose sleep. The way Shedeur managed the game showed veteran-level maturity. There were moments when he could have forced throws or tried to do too much, but he generally made smart calls about when to be aggressive and when to take what the defense gave him. That kind of game management usually takes rookies a while to figure out. But Shedeur seemed to have a natural feel for situational football and what his team needed from him at different points in the game. The post-game reactions tell their own story. Teammates were genuinely hyped, celebrating with Shedeur in ways that showed real respect for what he just accomplished. Coaches were complimentary while keeping expectations realistic about the development ahead. And fans? Oh man, the fans finally had something to celebrate after years of heartbreak and frustration. Social media went absolutely nuclear. Browns fans who'd been beaten down by decades of losing were cautiously optimistic. National analysts were recalibrating their takes on both Shedeur and Cleveland's potential. Highlight clips were everywhere. Sports shows had endless content to break down. The engagement was off the charts, showing people genuinely cared about this story. The pressure on Shedeur moving forward is going to be insane. One good game doesn't guarantee anything. Defenses will study the tape, find his tendencies, and come at him with more complex schemes designed to confuse a young QB. The challenge now is proving this wasn't a fluke, showing he can handle adversity when games get ugly. The business relationship between Shedeur and the Browns will be fascinating to watch. His prime equity clause means he profits directly from increased merch sales, sponsorships, and promos. The Browns benefit from having a player who generates massive interest and drives revenue. It's a win-win where both sides have aligned incentives to maximize Shedeur's visibility and success. This kind of arrangement could become the blueprint if it works out for both parties. The national media coverage of Shedeur will only intensify from here. Every game will be dissected. Every throw will be graded. Every post-game quote will be analyzed. This is the reality of being a high-profile QB in today's NFL, especially one carrying a famous last name and already pulling record viewership numbers. How Shedeur handles this constant spotlight while staying focused on preparation and performance will be crucial to his long-term success. The comparison to his father's career is inevitable, but also kind of unfair. Deion played a different position, in a different era, with a completely different skill set. Trying to measure Shedeur against Primetime's accomplishments doesn't really make sense because they're doing fundamentally different things on the field. But the comparison will happen anyway because that's what people do with famous sports families. The key for Shedeur is embracing his father's legacy while making it clear his own career and accomplishments stand on their own. The support system around Shedeur looks strong. He's got his father's guidance and wisdom from decades at the highest levels. He's got coaches who believe in him and trust him with the keys. He's got teammates who respect his preparation and leadership. He's got an organization desperate for QB stability and willing to invest in his development. All these factors create an environment where a young QB can potentially flourish. The Raiders' game film will be studied exhaustively by Shedeur and his coaches as they prep for the next opponent. There'll be plays to celebrate and learn from, moments where everything clicked. But there'll also be mistakes to fix, decisions to refine, techniques to improve. The process of developing as an NFL QB never ends. The best players are the ones who stay hungry and committed to constant improvement, even after good performances. The Browns' season could change dramatically if Shedeur keeps playing at this level. A team that might have been written off as rebuilding suddenly becomes interesting if they have a legit QB running the show. Playoff dreams that seemed unrealistic become at least possible if the offense can consistently move the ball and score points. The entire organizational outlook shifts when you solve the quarterback position. And right now, after years of wandering in the desert, Cleveland might have finally found their answer. The curse is broken, the streak is dead, a new era has begun. Welcome to the Shedeur Sanders era in Cleveland.